I'm going to be going over my wild price prediction. I'm going to do it in a little bit of a different way than most people like to shill their tokens on a community. I really just want to educate you. So we're going to go over some really important factors when it comes to the market as a whole, and then how we're going to get to the wild price that I have kind of predicted for myself, different indicators that I'm looking for, and what's going on with Wilder World that has me so bullish, and why I've invested so heavily in this project. In all of my research, three things kept popping up. Bitcoin needs to reach new all-time highs, as well as we need to have positive market sentiment and news, for instance, rate cuts or stimulating the economy. And then we need to have that liquidity shift from Bitcoin to Ethereum down to other smaller cap, kind of higher risk tokens. And so here we can go back and see that we have been reaching all-time highs for a number of months now. And we can see some strong kind of sentiment when it comes to Bitcoin. It's being mass adopted. We're getting clear regulation with the Genius Act and stablecoins. We're also getting probably some approval when it comes to the Clarity Act that should be kind of finished up in the Senate. I think it's in September. And then we're probably going to get more regulation as time goes on. And so all of this has really increased the sentiment when it comes to Bitcoin, which then that sentiment flows downhill. And so the number one thing that has always been kind of an indicator to a market being stimulated is rate cuts. And we haven't been getting any kind of rate cuts, but we do have news that we're going to probably see rate cuts coming in September. And so JP Morgan really believes that we're going to get 25 BPS next week. Well, yeah, it's going to probably be 2 days after this video is released on September 17th. Some people are calling out for a higher cut. Some people are calling out for a 50 BPS. We can see kind of the dominance here. We really want to see Bitcoin dominance fall. This really shows that we are heading into an alt season. We can see in the last cycle here that as soon as we were getting Bitcoin dominance kind of drop, which I think is right here, I think this kind of movement is the movement we're seeing currently. And then we're going to see if we do get those rate cuts, we're really going to see that Bitcoin dominance drop, which is a clear indicator that liquidity is folding from Bitcoin down to Ethereum, which is what we really want to see, because the path to alt season always is from one, Bitcoin to Ethereum, then Ethereum to large caps, and then you have alt season. And so we really got to see what kind of news or information is coming out about Ethereum and why we should be bullish about Ethereum, because the higher Ethereum goes, the more liquidity that will fall down into other smaller caps and large caps below Ethereum. And so there was a kind of a message from Bitmine and Tom Lee that kind of talked about why they're spending billions of dollars on Ethereum. And I want to kind of just listen in on that right now.
So in our view, Ethereum is having its 1971 moment, where the real-world assets are becoming synthetic or tokenized. Treasury Secretary Bessent sees this becoming a multi-trillion-dollar market for stablecoins. And it's not just stablecoins, but banks are already moving to build products on Ethereum, whether it's JP Morgan, Robinhood, Goldman, Bank of New York, even Walmart and Amazon. So what does this mean? Well, in 2025, as the real world becomes digital, it's going to be natural to say, I want to find the digital store value, and that is Bitcoin. And I'm a believer in Bitcoin. But it's also going to create a market for digital assets. And we think the winner there is Ethereum. And in fact, Wall Street is building here on Ethereum. So let's just think about one story arc. What is Wall Street going to do to innovate on the blockchain over the next 10, 15 years? Well, they're going to build stable coins, tokenize equities, credit, tokenize real estate. They're going to monetize reputation, even monetize intellectual property. And a lot of this is happening on Ethereum. For instance, this is a tweet from Adriano Feria that Ethereum added $6.3 billion of stablecoins just in the last 7 days. Well, That's more than half of all the stable coins Solana has managed to capture in over the last 5 years. It's more than the entire stablecoin supply on Hyperliquid, and it's 35 times the amount of stablecoin circulating supply on Ripple. And the stablecoin supply in Ethereum is now $160 billion. That's double where it was about 18 months ago. So you can see Ethereum is the winner here. And Ethereum has captured the majority of the real world assets. They're all taking place mostly on Ethereum. And SharpLink's chairman, Joe Lubin, agrees. He says Wall Street will stake ETH because they currently pay for their infrastructure, and Ethereum will replace much of the many siloed stacks they operate. Again, you can see a lot of this is taking place on Ethereum. And it's not just Wall Street. AI is also building products on the blockchain. In fact, we think one of the big story arcs is that it's not just Wall Street building itself onto the blockchain. It's really AI converging onto Ethereum. One of the co-founders of Ethereum actually said this. He thinks Ethereum could be the key to AI decentralization and actually act as a decentralized partner in solving current problems with AI intelligence platforms. So what does that mean? Well, that means that you're going to monetize data collection, royalties, loyalty programs, verify agentic AI, and proof of humanity. That's also taking place on Ethereum. So you can see the future is quite bright.
So we can kind of really see that the use cases that a lot of the people that are really looking at the micro and the macro of this time frame can kind of see that there is this moment where we're going to have this convergence of networks on top of connecting with AI, and that those two things kind of coming together. We really see that blockchain and crypto is really taking hold within regulations, within the government, within larger companies that are going to be coming and building on top of it, creating more digital kind of synthetic assets with their products that they already have, along with this emergence of AI, and those two things coming together, which will then just compound the ability for digital utility that is needed within the space to make it a much more enjoyable user experience. And they're really starting to see that DeFi and AI and these blockchains all kind of converging together is really what's going to set Ethereum to higher limits. Later on in this video, he talks about kind of where his price predictions kind of go. Let's see if we can find just the slide that kind of talks about it. So this is kind of the price prediction areas that Tom Lee has depending on the Bitcoin to Ethereum dominance. And he thinks that it could go with the 8-year average to 11,000 if Bitcoin hits 250,000. A lot of the areas that a lot of people are looking at are somewhere between 7 and 9,000 is a more realistic number, just depending on kind of where everything is at. But he even has a possibility of 62,000, which that really I don't think is going to be happening this time around. It could be happening maybe in the next cycle. I personally am looking at somewhere between a 7 and an 11,000 Ethereum. If that is the case, especially on the 11,000 kind of bar, we really could see some really crazy movement within the large and smaller caps. Some of the things that I'm looking at, like currently we've seen a lot of movements of large caps. You can see a lot of these large caps that have been moving this entire week. I personally believe that these are individuals kind of shifting themselves in, and then people that are following, smart money, they are also making those moves in preparation for what they believe is to come. I do think that we could possibly see a retracement on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and possibly moving forward for a time, especially if we only get a 25 BPS. That's probably already cooked in. If we get a 50 BPS, I don't think we'll see a retracement quite yet. I think we'll see a boom within the market, and then we'll see a retracement from there. And then if we go and we kind of look at Ethereum right now, Ethereum is sitting at like a 4,400. We did touch a 5,000. We're really going to have to see a breakthrough. If we see that breakthrough, we're really going to want to see something at least to the 7,000 or between the to the 11,000. That seems to be a realistic kind of move, depending on how high Bitcoin goes. Now, remember, everything really is dependent on Bitcoin. If we go back here to the Bitcoin price, we're really going to want to see the price go higher than this. We're probably going to want to see it reach 150 to 200,000 at least. If we see it closer to the 200,000 to 250, I think we will get that 11,000 Ethereum. And I think from there, a lot of really crazy movement can happen downwind. I'm taking a much more cautious approach just because I'm more of a long-term thinker. I don't want to plan on the highs. I want to plan out more on an average. And so in my mind, it's very realistic that we could see a 150,000 to 200,000, somewhere in between there. And then we can see in Ethereum a 7,000 to 11,000. So those are kind of the ranges that I'm looking at. So one of the major indicators is to look at the Bitcoin dominance and kind of check out what's going on from there. We are seeing a trend removal. We are seeing the price of Ethereum go up. We are seeing the dominance of Bitcoin come down. Even though that Bitcoin will be going up from here, the rate at which Ethereum will be going up will be at a much faster rate than Bitcoin, hence why Bitcoin dominance will drop. And then you're going to have a lot more altcoins and you're going to have a lot more liquidity. You're going to be having individuals be taking profits from Bitcoin at different levels as well as Ethereum. And then it's going to be dropping down into the larger caps and the smaller caps, just like we were looking at here before. This is the flow. Some other indicators. We here on the altcoin season index, just in the last 48 hours, we passed into altcoin season according to this index. I also look at the total 3, which is basically the entire crypto market minus the stable coins, Bitcoin, USD, and Ethereum. And you can see that we're getting to a place where we could be breaking up into all-time highs. I do think we will see this in September. And then we can look here that the altcoin Golden Cross has been confirmed, which is usually a pretty good indicator of altcoin season and an increase of those market caps and everything within the altcoin market. You know, last time it went up 140%. I don't think we're going to reach that. It might be 100, 120% would be more of what I believe. Now, it could be more. It just all depends on these rate cuts, the economy being stimulated. Money just doesn't flow until rate cuts are lowered and there's stimulus within the economy, because people are going to protect and have much lower risk. Once the kind of yield comes down and that rate cut happens, you just have a much higher stimulus within the economy, which allows people to take riskier and riskier moves. So even in the larger stock market, you're going to see people roll over from the Mag 7 all the way down into riskier kind of companies. You see it whenever these types of things happen, and I think we're going to see it here with a rate cut. If we get 50 and then we end up getting even more rate cuts, there are some plans for there to be a rate cut one in September, another in October, and another one in December. A lot of people are hoping and banking on this, especially since they probably should have been doing rate cuts starting in June because they were getting false information. And now that they're getting much more clear information, we can see that rate cuts should have been put in. Inflation isn't as much of a problem as they thought. And so we can start seeing those rate cuts. And going into the midterms and Trump wanting to really stimulate the economy, we could see this continue on through next year, which kind of goes into some of the indications that I have that it's very possible that this can be dragged on for a longer period of time. But right now, I am taking the safer road where I'm only planning on it maybe lasting until the end of the year, until we get other indicators showing that this could be dragged on. Because if it continues to stimulate the economy, if they decide to turn on the money printer and all of those types of things, we're going to see that economy be stimulated, especially here in the US, which is a good indication that a lot more people are willing to risk that money that they received that they didn't really have to do anything for. And we see a clear indication of that during the pandemic in 2021, when stimulus checks were being cut and sent out. And we could possibly see that there's indications of maybe some, what was it, like a tariff check, a $600 tariff check being cut out for individuals. I'm sure the government will come up with whatever reason they want in order to stimulate the economy and get people spending, especially since the indications of inflation is coming back as not as impactful as the reports and the information that was going out earlier. So with all of that said, why have I invested so heavily into Wilder World? Why do I believe in this project? Why is my conviction so strong? And why have I spent so many years creating content? Elio Trades said it best in his last video. He talked about a post that was made by Aporia. And I think it's just best to kind of listen to him because it resonates very strongly with me.
When you think about asset allocation percentages, think about it like this. Aporia, as you guys know, one of my favorite analysts in the space, has been crushing it and said, look, I can't stress this point enough because it's something I always circle back to as a trader. Your job is not to predict the market. Your job is to manage risk. That means that the outcome of any single trade should never be the standard by which you judge it. The true measure lies in the quality of the decision that you made at the time based on the information, probabilities, and risk-reward parameters you had in front of you. Now, that might sound like a bunch of gobbledygook, but here is the kicker of the tweet. The moment you enter a trade, the outcome must be irrelevant because what matters is that you know why you entered, what risks you're accepting, what rewards you're seeking, and the probabilities you're playing. If you've done that with clarity, then it's a good trade, regardless of whether it wins or loses. Now, the translation for the simple output of this tweet is that you should be essentially allocating to specific assets, knowing what you expect from them, but also knowing the probabilities that that trade will work out. And that dictates also the percentage of money that you allocate to that trade. Meaning if you're going to long an altcoin versus Bitcoin, you should actually be weighting the amount of money you put into those differently because the chance of that altcoin exploding is less than the chance of Bitcoin exploding, right? The chance of Bitcoin losing money in the long term versus that altcoin is much less, which is why people put more of their money into Bitcoin. So understand, actually, there's no such thing as a bad trade. There's a riskier and less risky trade, and there's probabilities. But if you considered all those and entered with clarity and you know the risks and the outcomes that you're looking for, then it's a good trade, even if you win or lose, because you should take trades based on probabilities, risk, and potential outcomes. And once you understand those, you can take the trades. A lot of people in crypto just YOLO into random altcoins, not understanding those key levers. So if you understand, hey, how likely is it that this trade plays out? Hey, what is the potential for gains here? How much of my portfolio should I risk on this? And once you make those decisions, there's no such thing as a bad trade if you're happy with your decisions there. Now, if you're unhappy with your decisions there, that's where the bad trade comes in.
And so this statement that he makes really resonates with me because the reason why I have taken the risk with Wilder World and with Wild Token is because I have taken the time to kind of understand what the risk is, what the potential for success is, and everything that they're trying to do. For me, it's taking all of this information and taking my conviction and looking around the space and looking at what other teams and projects are doing, and it kind of helps me allocate the amount of risk and how it's kind of contributing to my bigger picture. And the nice thing is that I'm not necessarily doing that alone. I have invested with my brother and my family within the Wild Pineapple DAO. And so together, collectively, we have conversations, we talk about it, we balance each other out, and we really try to bring our experience and our understanding of the project and make decisions together based on that. And so you've got to do that for yourself. You've got to look at what is Wilder World doing? What is the team doing? What kind of communication out there? What kind of problem or value does this provide to the marketplace? Is there anyone else doing this better? These types of things is what we've got to take into account to then determine what amount of risk am I able to take? How much of my portfolio do I want to designate to this? And then from here, you make those decisions and you stand by them. Whatever the market does, you have made a good decision based on the information in front of you. And that's what I love so much about what Elio Trades has said, because that resonates with me so much. Other people, they just don't see, or they're not willing to take that risk. And that's totally fine. I understand. So with that said, let me go over some of the bulletin point items that has me so bullish on Wilder World and the Wild token. First reason I kind of want to talk about is the team. This is where I feel like you have to have a lot of trust. This is what kind of separates the boys from the men as far as doing a great job, making the hard decisions, being trustworthy, having integrity, and executing at a level where you hire slow, fire fast, and get to the team that is needed in order to realize the vision that any project may have. And I really do feel like over the iteration of this team and as time has gone on, they have really honed in on an incredible group of individuals that are they are developing things, but delivering on the vision that Wilder World has always had. You know, here I have a list of some of the main heads that you can go and look at. There are also a lot of other individuals that are doing an incredible job supporting these team heads, as well as just on their own fulfilling projects that come their way. I've come to get to know a various amount of these individuals and have been able to have conversations with them, play Rebellion, and just interact with them in a way that has really helped me build a lot of trust with them. Not out of fandom, but out of respect, because you ask them questions, the way they answer it, the passion that they have for the work that they're doing, you can tell that it's more than just about making money. It is about actually fulfilling the vision that the entire team has collectively engaged in order to realize something that hasn't been done before. And so this team is really stacked, and they're doing an incredible job, and they've gained a lot of experience through time at Nike, time at doing things like Dune and The Witcher, and a lot of other things that I'm probably just not even aware of. They've developed those skills and abilities to be able to do it. So I have a lot of respect for this team. You can look further into them if you'd like. You can just Google their names and kind of learn more about them. Obviously, some of them are anons, but you can go listen to spaces. You can go watch videos where they've appeared, and you can learn more about them. The second reason why I really like this project is the continuation of their communication. This is called Designs. It's basically where they release official news from the team and what the team has been working on, especially the devlogs. You can go into these devlogs and you can take a look at just the vast amount of information. This devlog reviewed the partnership with Lamborghini, and when they released a physical vehicle in the real world, at the same time with Wilder World, they released a digital version of that vehicle within the metaverse. So that was incredibly exciting. I went over some of the details with it, but not just only that, you can just see the vast amount of information they go through with making maps, making vehicles, the attachments, the different areas of the game making that they have to go through, and making sure they tweak each of the different aspects within the game, as well as going through and showing just the UI. I mean, it just goes on and map making, the different maps, the weapons. As you can see, it just goes on and on and on and on. You can see that the team just has done an incredible job with releasing information, and that is 15 of those devlogs, and it's actually 16 because there was a devlog 0. But then you can see in between all of that, they have different updates. For instance, updating about the wheels industry and how they're overhauling the wheels And we're going to get a new Racing 2.0, as well as hopefully by the end of the year, 100% of the wheels will be upgraded. They also go into different partnerships like Solana Beach, as well as Wyoming.Fun, Metropolis Cypher, so forth and so on. There's always something coming out. And so this is basically where you can get the direct information from the team that's official, not just some of the banter or conversation that team members have with community members. This is official. Everything else is speculative. And so this is really cool to have in order to kind of follow along on the developments from the team, build trust, and to see the advancements in the technology and the product that they've been putting out there. Okay, so the third bulletin point item that I want to bring up are their game modes. So right now we have a 100K tournament with Super Early Access and Rebellion. So if you haven't downloaded Wilder World, or Rebellion is the name of the game, make sure you go and download Wilder World Super Early Access. You can see it here on the Epic Games Store launcher, and you can get in and start winning prizes, as well as kind of check out what they have. This is a trailer that they put out for the game. They also have a racing game that we kind of tested out all of 2024. And right now there's a new physics engine that is being created that we put in by Eris and his team. And he is the number one individual that you would want on your team. In order to do this, he is extremely well known in the sim racing world, and he is a lot of fun to just be around. He's a really good guy, and I've really enjoyed listening to his passion when it comes to this, as well as his kind of love for his team. And he's just constantly wanting to produce the best. And you can just see how incredible these vehicles look and how the team has updated the wheels. This was kind of an old version. This is a new version. Or better yet, this is an old version and this is a new version. This is actually my favorite pattern as to the Hex. So absolutely love this. As you can see, they've just kind of upgraded the wheels. They started off with some of the higher end vehicles like Wambos, which are Lamborghinis, and then they're working their way through, and by the end of the year they should have a lot more. But they just wanted to go through and highlight the efforts that they've made in improving the suspension, the driving, the physics, and everything to go around to have an incredible experience getting into a vehicle within Wilder World and driving it around Miami and having a good time. And so a lot of people are really excited to get their hands on this new physics engine. All of us have nothing but trust for Eris and his team, and we know that he's really going to deliver in a way that kind of exceed our expectations. Along with that, we're going to get the garage, so you're going to be able to go in and kind of customize your vehicles. And those that have been holding wheels for a long time, they're most likely going to be able to have their first interactions with those vehicles that they own. So this is really, really exciting. Can't wait to kind of get my hands on this. But that is the second game mode. There's also going to be a kind of a mining game mode, which kind of has things to do with resources and the in-game economy. And so, a lot of these things will be developing, and I'm sure we're going to get even more game modes. But the one that everyone is waiting for is the open world. The open world is definitely something that everyone is anticipating, mostly because that is the differentiator from all the other projects. Standalone games are going to be better. What the team is trying to do is to have epic standalone games kind of in conjunction or together with the open world, so that you can have a lot of different fun experiences and find entertainment in a lot of different ways within the world. Maybe you just want to go in and play Rebellion. Maybe you just want to go in and do the racing game. They have an esports kind of component to the project. Then we're going to have the open world. We're going to be able to quest and level up and gear up and kind of adventure. I'm sure there's going to be more and more game modes that come out in time, But right now, these are the ones that they're focusing on, and they really want to deliver because the mechanics of the Rebellion and the racing game really correlate a lot within the open world. And so they want to make sure they get this done right. And then the fourth thing I want to talk about is kind of all encompassing, probably could come down to the focus of the team, right? The focus isn't, I mean, it can kind of feel sporadic and like they're throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks, but they're innovators, they are creators, they are really trying to find what works and what the market is looking for. And so I have a lot of respect that they're willing to fail, learn from those failures, and continue to innovate and create and progress forward despite what the community might say, despite what the audience might say. As far as the faders and the naysayers, they really just want to make sure they're delivering the best of the best. Sometimes this just doesn't make sense, and there's a lot of pessimism and negative comments. But they want to try things that have never been tried before. They really want to add value to something that is common and familiar. If you want the best open world experience, you would probably just go play GTA. You've got GTA 6 coming out. Why would you need something like Wilder World? Well, because Wilder World is going to bring an additional level of that experience that you are not going to be able to find in GTA 6 and deliver high quality, fun, open world gameplay. They have to really try to innovate and try things that have never been done before. And I give them a lot of respect. And Neo kind of goes over a lot of the things and a lot of their goals that I want to kind of just highlight because it's really important so you know where the team is coming from and what their focus is. So they want to become the #1 metaverse project by global rank on CoinMarketCap. Neo kind of talked about he wants to kind of break into the top 100. But lately he's really been talking about really pushing the project to be in the top 50, to be the #1 metaverse project. He really believes there's value to be captured there to become one of the top 50 tokens and projects within the space. And so he's really trying hard to kind of push in that level. And some of the ways that he's trying to do that is improve the land protocol and make sure that land is done in a way that's never been done within the metaverse, actually bringing value to each landholder and giving purpose behind the land. Something to understand about land is that there is a bigger purpose behind it. You can mine it, refine the resources, build with those resources, and sell. So there's this kind of flywheel, this economic purpose behind owning land. There's a certain amount of resources that will be spread out along the land protocol and the lands that are owned by individuals and by the project. And those resources can then be mined, they can be refined, and you can use those kind of refined materials in order to build something. So these packs that are coming out, they will be drawing from that resource protocol, the resources available within the land. They really want to make sure that land has purpose and it has value and it's attached to the larger economy. In my mind, this is a very positive thing. That's like Neo's second major effort that he's trying to make this year. You also have, get to project profitability, which is great. Launch super early access, which they've already done. We just talked about that. Have 1 billion in collective TVL for Wild and ZCHAIN. I have zero doubt that we're going to reach this, even though we're not there. I really do believe that if we enter into any type of kind of bull season, we will reach this. The sixth thing that he talks about, here is 100K monthly active wallets for Wilder World, Zero, and ZCHAIN. A lot of the ways that they're trying to really bring this is one, bringing attention to the Wild token, as well as developing and releasing incredible game modes, games that people enjoy to play. And so this is something that I believe will be achieved. I think we're probably around 25,000. And so we do have a little ways to go, but we are in a very kind of low moment within the market. And so once we get going, I really do believe we'll see a huge increase in the wallets. And then the seventh thing that he talks about is Meow launch, Wild token economy, avatars, land 2, and 100% of Genesis Wilds complete. We've talked about some of these things. Meow launch kind of has already happened. I think there are more things to launch with Meow. And I think it's kind of shifted in their development and some of the things that they're doing. And I don't know if I want to say shifted, but they're adding things to it and kind of focusing on some of the priorities that they have. So there's going to be more information about Meow coming out. You have the wild token economy, which we've seen a lot of focus on. In the ZCHAINs, you can go over here and see that in the last little bit, there's been a ton of information. You have Operation Titan, which has been buybacks on the wild token, and they've done millions of dollars of buybacks, and they have millions of dollars. They have at least $1 million left in the DAO funds, as well as they're raising additional funds to continue to buy back the token and help control the supply, because when you help control the supply and provide different levels of liquidity, the token price typically goes up, and there's a lot of greater returns when it comes to the token price. Then they talked about Metropolis, which is essentially packs where they're going to have different NFTs. There's 3 NFTs within a single pack. They'll be selling these packs, and then these NFTs you're going to be able to utilize within the open world, the game, racing, the garage, loadouts, different aspects of the game, which will then just draw people to want to be able to acquire these assets. And from the revenue, there's a certain percentage that will be burned. The other percentage of the revenue will then be used to buy back the wild token on the open market. And so there's this overall kind of flywheel of purchasing and selling and burning of the wild token, adding value to it. You have Cypher. And what Cypher is basically a unification of the core projects. So here they kind of go over the core projects, which is Zero, Wild World, Meow, ZCHAIN, Labyrinth, ZID, Aura, Nova, and the Grid. And recently Neo has been releasing some images from this Aura agentic AI. You can see that each thing is being developed. There's a lot of things to kind of be excited about. You can see what each one of these things do. ZCHAIN is a huge focus too, because everything is built on top of Zero and ZCHAIN, which is allowing for fast, secure, and gasless transactions, which is something that is needed within a metaverse that's going to have billions of transactions every single day in the full-fledged world of a metaverse. And so going back and kind of looking over, you can see that they are focusing on the development of the different parts of the projects. Do I think that we're going to get Land 2? I don't think we're going to get Land 2 this year. I think that'll be something that'll come out maybe in 2026. It depends on how well the market is. We could see it in Q1 of 2026, but we know that we're probably going to get, most likely, if not, for sure, we're getting Avatar Creator this year, as well as 100% of the Genesis wheels will be completed. We're also probably going to get some other types of surprises like Wyoming.fun and probably the Racing 2.0 and other aspects of the game will be released. We're hoping for a limited kind of open world experience, but I do believe we'll most likely get this in Q1 of 2026. Other things that they're focusing on that excite people is a listing on Coinbase or Binance. I think we have a much greater chance of being listed on Binance at this point. And if the listing with Binance goes well, I can imagine that not too far after that, we will get a listing on Coinbase. And then I'm sure other exchanges will come and will be connected to the vast majority of the liquidity available. In addition to that, Neo recently just released. So he released that in January. You can imagine over the last 9 months, they've really worked hard to fulfill those things. He recently did an announcement talking about some of the adjustments they've been making to Rebellion and the game and the 100K tournament. He also talked about that there'll be several product launches, and the ones that we can expect is the Avatar Creator, Will's Garage, which is essentially where you can go and customize your vehicle, loadouts and gun customizer, which, for Rebellion, you're able to go in and customize your loadouts. You also have the ability to customize your own avatar. Recently, Neo and Frank have been dropping into Rebellion, playing with their own avatars, and it's been a lot of fun. Sometimes it can get distracting because you're so used to seeing the Trinity character running around, and then all of a sudden you see Frank and you're just like, oh man, I can't wait to create my own character. And there's probably going to be a number of characters that I create that I'm excited about. I typically kind of create, when it comes to open world, a female character. But I think for, just for the culture, I'm going to create a character that's more fitting to like BelsheBits and myself. Have one that's kind of for real gameplay, and then one for kind of just my persona, my brand, my character. And then moving on with some of the things he talks about that are of note. They're targeting a playable open world, but there's no guarantees, which we kind of talked about. Talking about the daily active users, they're really pushing the TikTok space and really trying to get Open Wildfire or Operation Wildfire going to get a lot of traction in that space. You also have daily check-ins and XP missions, which I'm excited about because it'll bring people to get back to the game every single day and give them a purpose to kind of check in every day and gain rewards and XP and level up and all the things that will be attached to it once more information comes out. They're going to be launching packs soon, which we've kind of gone over already, and how that's kind of connected with Metropolis. The final Metropolis smart contract upgrades are imminent, which means that they're going to be ready to release packs, and there may be the land protocol and resources attached to this. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe those will be different contracts attached to it. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a developer. He goes on to talk about that there's been positive volume flow with the Wild token. Recently, they launched on Binance Alpha. So what Binance Alpha is Binance's way of vetting projects and kind of onboarding them onto Spot. So first you'll go to Binance Alpha, then you might get like a futures option, and then you'll get on and get a spots option. So it's just a progressive way to be able to get a spot listing within Binance. And they had a contest. I think there was like 5 million tokens that was given to the project as part of this opportunity. And then I think half of those were utilized within this kind of trade contest that they had. And so during that time, there was hundreds of millions of volume within the Wild token. And then recently, because of PancakeSwap, so now we're on PancakeSwap, and we're actually part of another contest with PancakeSwap, that there's going to be more volume and more opportunity for us to kind of be highlighted and picked by Binance to be put onto their spot listings. And so these are all efforts from the team in order to get that spot listing. And then from here, we can go over and continue to see that some of the other things that we can look at are the releasing of Wyoming.Fun, which is essentially a creator product where individuals will be able to go in and create a skin for weapons and then kind of release it as a token. And then once this skins token reaches certain levels, it will then be able to be released as an actual NFT within the open world and within the game. And this could be a really big thing because the team is not going to be taking any of the revenue. It's all going to be given back to either the creator of this skin or token or back to wild holders. And so this could be something that could be a huge contributor to a deflationary effect on wild, because part of the revenue and the wild that is produced through this will be burned. And then finally, to close out, some of the information that Neo just recently posted is they're going to be expanding the wild cross-chain with DeFi integrations and support for new chains and ecosystems. You see this already with Solana and AVAX, and they're going to continue to do this. And one last thing I want to talk about is how Wilder World is built on top of Zero. They are sister companies, but they go hand in hand. Zero was built in order to provide the infrastructure needed in order to realize a metaverse platform. And the reason why I bring this up is because Zero is providing the infrastructure and the protocols needed for a metaverse platform like Wilder World to realize the efforts that they're making with being able to provide their users with fast transactions, gasless transactions, the ability to access, human identification and to prevent against botting, as well as a social aspect and a messaging aspect, as well as the wallet, the DEX, and the ability to create your own kind of world through the ZNS protocol, and much more. There's going to be more that's going to be attached to it. And so these things kind of being integrated together will provide a much better experience within Wilder World, and Wilder World will showcase the ability that Zero has. And so this partnership is really important that each one of them succeed. And so both teams are working tirelessly in order to realize the individual efforts that kind of cohesively come together to realize the larger metaverse and what we imagine will be possible in the future. I recommend that you go and check out ZCHAIN and check out its capabilities and why it's going to be providing value to Wilder World. There's a lot of really good information here. The team worked really hard in order to create this layer 1, and they did it with purpose. They did it with intentionality. And so I recommend that you go and see what it's going to provide. Here it goes into, providing things for the metaverse, artificial intelligence, gaming, digital collectibles, as well as social networking and streaming, and a myriad of other things is what ZCHAIN is going to be able to provide. And I just recommend you kind of do your own research and kind of know what ZCHAIN is and what Wilder World will be built on top of. And you'll also learn more about why I'm so bullish about Wilder World being attached to these sister companies. Okay, now that we've talked about the bigger picture of the economic market and the starting of alt season, as well as why Wilder World is one that I've heavily focused on, why I create content for it, and why I'm so passionate behind it, and why I'm, heavily involved, especially with my time and my means. Let's kind of get into the whole purpose of why you're probably watching this video and what my price predictions are and why I believe that these different price predictions could be met. And so the first price prediction that I kind of have is at the $4.50 range. Now, if we don't hit alt season whatsoever, I think the most that we can kind of hit is that dollar range, just because we've been hitting that kind of level and getting some kind of kickback. And so right now, I think just with what attention's around and what access to liquidity we have, that's kind of been a barrier for us. But if the alt season comes in, we have those kind of rate cuts, at least that 25 BPS rate cut, I believe, and we go into a bull cycle, I believe that we can reach the $4.50 range. That's kind of where my range is of kind of taking a look at that. That's what I'll be anticipating, just given not knowing where the energy is within the market, where the attention is, how the projects have matured, how there's a lot more projects kind of taking liquidity out of the market. And so some things are being spread thin. I don't really know where all that's going. And so I'm kind of planning on the $4.50 range. I think that's realistic. I think that is a good amount of gains, especially if you were getting in at the 10-cent level. And those that have been farming in the liquidity pool, I think $4.50 is a really good marker. It kind of reaches the different analytics from different members of the community that I've been paying attention to, and different larger macro kind of economics that I've been watching. $4.50 is kind of my first level that I'm kind of just looking at, thinking, okay, based on what I see now, this is kind of the level. This is the minimum I would expect when it came to the next bull cycle. I'm excited to kind of see where we go from there. Now, where could we go if we do get on a tier 1 exchange and we get at least a 50 BPS rate cut? I think that the next level that I'd be looking at is the $10 kind of level. The reason why I said $10 is I really do believe there's a psychological barrier there when we're reaching $10. And I think this is going to be a hard level to kind of blow past, depending on the amount of liquidity that comes in. Now, if you get Bitcoin to go to 200K, and you get Ethereum to go to anything between kind of 9 and 11K. I really do think we can hit that 10K and maybe blow past that as well. But sorry, not 10K, $10. And so that $10 mark is something that I'm looking at mostly because of the psychological barrier. But if we're in pure euphoria, people aren't really going to be paying attention to that. They're just going to be trying to get into as many tokens as possible. They're going to be chasing the FOMO, and who knows where these levels can go and what will blow past and when that would calm down. If we get past 60 cents, especially past the dollar, I really do believe there is a lot of air here. We could really see some crazy movement. And then obviously we're going to be hitting some levels at the all-time high. And then if we blow past that all-time high, I think that $10 level just seems realistic when it comes to psychological barriers, as well as depending on where the other levels are within the economy, how much liquidity has come down, where is it falling down to, and what kind of attention Wild World is gaining and how they're executing on a lot of the things that we just talked about. But my kind of, Valhalla moment, where I really believe that we could maybe go to this top end of the market. There's a few things that need to happen. I think we need to be on multiple exchanges. I think the attention needs to be in gaming and the metaverse. And I really do believe that we have to be executing on a level of marketing and product delivery in a way that we have never done before. The team is really going to have to be executing on every level of releasing product, releasing game updates, releasing things that really excite people, that hold their attention, because at this time, people's attention are going to be drawn, and there's nothing more powerful than greed. The team is really going to have to produce a level of marketing and product delivery in a way that people just see dollar signs in their eyes and their greed stays within the project. That is when I think we can get to the next level, which I believe is about $18. The reason why I believe it's $18, because if we go to the market cap of, and we put in Wild, and we look at Mana, and its all-time high, we can see that it kind of reaches that point. So it was around about 10 billion, and that would put us at a 23, if I did my calculations right. So anyways, it would be between $18 and $23 with a $10 billion market cap. And either way, this is like Valhalla moment. This is everyone buying Lambos. This is people just pure euphoria, and they just can't believe themselves. Lives are changed, especially the ones that have been around collecting over the bear market. This would be absolutely incredible. I would not be sad about this whatsoever. This is something that I am not expecting. I do not dream about. Well, I mean, I dream about it, but it's like not something that's within my plans of like, okay, when it reaches this amount. This is multiple exchanges. This is everything clipping at a rate that we've never seen before. Bitcoin has gone 250,000 or more. You've got 11,000 Ethereum or more. You've got multiple rate cuts. All the rate cuts that are coming in, I believe, people believe that there's rate cuts in September, October, and December. Then maybe you get that stimulus that have been talked about. I think it's like a tariff stimulus of $600, whatever that President Trump wants to do in order to really kick off the economy during midterms so that people get reelected. I think we could go into this pure euphoria of so much liquidity coming down to that space. It's very possible that we could, if all of those things are happening, that we are able to capture this kind of evaluation. But all of these things would have to be happening. So that's a long, long road until we get to that point. So there's a lot of things that need to come before I believe this can happen. I'd be interested in what you're thinking. Am I close to your reasoning? Am I far off? What are your kind of levels? Make sure you make comments in the comments below, because I would love to just kind of get your feedback and kind of be a little bit more aware of where the larger community is at when they come to think about this. But let me give you some further reasoning behind why I kind of am at these levels. And a lot of that is when it comes to attention. So the two genres that we would kind of be in where the attention would need to be is the metaverse and gaming. And so I kind of was looking at this worldwide, and I was really surprised at how low crypto gaming really is, especially compared to the metaverse. Now, the metaverse really spiked at this time. This is basically when we hit right before hitting all-time highs. You know, that's why Decentraland and Sandbox really got some attention. Axie Infinity really got some attention at this time. And so there's this huge boom of the metaverse, of people really getting excited about it. We need this. So this is really important. And I really do believe that the attention for crypto gaming will be increased. We will definitely make ground when it comes to crypto gaming, just because there was like no product then, and now there's a lot more product. Let's look at kind of a shorter horizon. This is in the last year. We can see just recently crypto gaming kind of surpassed the attention of the metaverse. We want these two things. We want both things to have what we saw in 2021. This is what we want to see with both, because then we're capturing even more attention. Those are the two kind of metrics. I kind of look around the space and I go, okay, what projects are kind of gaining the or collecting the attention from this? When people are searching, when people are looking into the space, what teams? And so the teams I kind of came up with is Wilder World, Illuvium, Cornucopia, Star Atlas, and Axie Infinity. This is when it comes to the metaverse, right? We're going to talk about gaming here in a second, but this is when it comes to the metaverse. Now, Axie Infinity, they are kind of expanding into more of a metaverse. They have, I believe, an MMO coming out. They have a really popular game that just killed it. I mean, obviously, look at this. It, like, no contest, the amount of attention that Axie Infinity got worldwide. It's just absolutely incredible. But they also have the most die-off out of anyone. Right now, we can see that Axie Infinity, no matter what, because they're familiar, because they're known, it's a brand that's recognized, they're going to capture a lot of this information. So there's a lot of ground to make. And so these teams are really going to have to put forth an effort to cut into this Axie Infinity kind of pie. And it's going to be really important that they do. Now, okay, I know this entire time that I've been talking about this, you're like, what about Decentraland? What about Sandbox? I totally get it. So let's go in and let's just kind of take out Star Atlas. We're going to edit this. So Decentraland, video game. So even by putting that in, they did garner a little bit more than everybody else, but you can see the difference between it. I could put in Sandbox. I tried that, but Sandbox is such a general kind of term. It's really hard to kind of narrow it down. I did Sandbox crypto. I did Sandbox video game, and it was a small blimp on it. So I would believe that they got just as much attention as Decentraland, just because you had like the Snoop Dogg attention, and you had just a lot of that like land purchasing attention around what it was kind of going to look like. And so these are the pies we have to cut into. And I really believe that we have a product that is capable of taking attention away from this pie. We want to grow the pie, and then we want to cut in getting a larger share of this pie. That is the effort that the team and the community should really be pushing for in order to have the greatest amount of success when it comes to the token price. And then we can see in the recent months, if you include Star Atlas, it really isn't on here. So I don't know if it's because Star Atlas is a general term as well, but I as well put in Star Atlas Games, Star Atlas Crypto, Star Atlas, and even if you combined all of it, it was a small blimp. You can see that Wilder World didn't compare to Illuvium. Illuvium got a lot of attention in 2021 as well. And then recently, they released their updated Battle Arena, which has garnered a lot of attention. and they've been doing their competition in their tournament. So a lot of attention has been going to Illuvium lately, and so I give them props. That has been really cool to see. Illuvium, even in 2021, you can see over here, they got a lot more of the attention as well. They were the third out of all of these that we have up here, and Wilder World was very small. Cornucopias isn't really even seen. They barely even had any blimps. Even currently, there's no real kind of traction within their project. If I was going to rate these, obviously Axie Infinity, I believe, is going to get a huge chunk. Decentraland, Sandbox, they are going to get a huge chunk just by familiarity, just because they were the titans of the last kind of era in 2021. We have to show that we have a greater product. We have to draw people from these communities and show that maybe we have a product that they connect with a little bit more than connecting with the product over at Decentraland and Sandbox. It was the only thing really they had available to them. So if they have more options like Star Atlas and Illuvium and Wilder World and even Cornucopias, then we've got to draw from that. We need to grow the pie, and we need to make sure that we expand our slice of that pie. Okay, and the wild card here that I want to kind of talk about is the other side. The other side I put in, they made a blimp in April of 2022 when they were selling their other deeds. After that, we all know the hate that they've gotten because they mismanaged that. They don't really have a product. They've been working on it. They've gone through some team changes, some, reorganization changes, and it's left to be seen if they're actually able to kind of deliver on some of their promises and deliver a product that's even of interest. But Bored Ape Yacht Clubs was the largest project of NFTs in 2021. Any type of, opportunity, people are going to just kind of foam at the mouth because they just believe there's so much liquidity there and apes are going to have their day. I think that Sandbox, Decentraland, and the other side had the most opportunity, and they've all squandered it, in my opinion. I could be wrong. There could be a lot of people in my comment section, but I really do believe they've all squandered this opportunity. They haven't delivered on a product. I believe their games are really close to what they were before. Maybe there's been some improvements and some user experience improvements. With the amount of attention and the amount of liquidity, you would think that they would just be delivering on something like Pudgy Penguin did, right? Like Pudgy Penguin has executed at a rate that is really to be admired. They delivered a meme coin that has been extremely successful. They delivered a game recently that has been really successful. And so I think these other teams just kind of squandered their opportunity. And talking about Pudgy Penguins, let's talk into, games. Here I have Wilder World, Illuvium, Off the Grid, and Pudgy Penguins, and also Star Atlas. Let me just add this in. And we can see that in 2021 that Pudgy Penguins got a lot of attention because of the NFT craze, and the team really delivered really well during this era of time. And it's been a product and a project that has really resonated with people. And I think the team has done an incredible job with their marketing, done an incredible job with their product, and continuing to deliver on that brand and that IP. Really proud of the Pudgy Penguin team because the brand is becoming more and more recognized. And I think it's something that a lot of other teams should look at as an example of how to maybe approach things with their own projects. But you can see outside of that, Illuvium was the other kind of straight up game that got a lot of attention in 2021. I feel like they kind of lost a lot of that kind of player base because not a lot was seen. But then here recently, I really do believe that the Illuvium team has really delivered. The Battle Arena game is really polished, plays really well. They just are finishing up a huge tournament that has been really successful. So I really want to give props to the Illuvium team. I think, though, for a time, a lot of people were worried. They've done a really good job to really execute here at the end. And then along with that, you can see that Wilder World had a lot of attention at this time and then it kind of died off in the bear market as well, but they continued to grind, and they've been delivering on the racing game as well as Rebellion in the shooter game. And then we can see this really big spike here when Off the Grid did an incredible job with the marketing of delivering on their first Pioneer kind of battle arena release. They did a really good job. I think the way that they marketed it and the way they delivered it at the time did a really, really good job. And then these spikes are Pudgy Penguins, and this recent one is because of Pudgy Party and the actual game they released, and why I've put them in this kind of mix, because I really do believe that they're going to help grow that pie of crypto gaming, which is really, really good for everybody. Everyone else is just going to have to execute in a way that kind of increases the size of their pie and helps to also grow that pie. I think one of the big winners during this market will be Off the Grid and their Guns token. I really do believe that they have been doing a really good job as well. I'm excited when they release so many great updates. People are really resonating with this project, and I think the way that they have been game first, product first, and crypto second has really functioned well. And again, another team and another project where people can kind of look to see how to successfully deliver on their community and their player base without like inundating them with crypto, which I think has been a problem in the past. So props to Off the Grid. I think you're going to be the winner when it comes to when we're looking at these charts later on. And so I'm really excited to kind of see how each one of these games kind of take part of the market share, as well as the helping grow that pie in a way that we've never seen before. But we can kind of see more recently how the numbers were. Obviously, you have Axie Infinity that has stayed really steady this year. And then, which is something that we want to see, right? We don't want to just see these spikes. Seeing this consistency is really, really good. That means there's constant conversation. I would rather see this than just big spikes. And that's what these kind of averages kind of show out. We can see that the averages of Axie Infinity is much larger than all these other ones. But you can also look at Pudgy Penguins. They do a really good job. And I think they're going to level out in a way. They're not going to be at this bottom line continually. I think they're going to grow just like Axie Infinity did. And the reason why Axie Infinity kind of stays this way is because they've had a well-polished game that people have been enjoying and playing over a long period of time. That's something that should be admired. Wilder World, Star Atlas, and Illuvium, we all have a lot of ground to make. And even Off the Grid, we're going to see big spikes, but then it's going to level off, and a lot more attention will be coming, and a lot more players will be a part of these games. And that's what we want to see. We want to see the huge increase, and then we want things to level off just like we see with Axie Infinity. Well, there you have it, Wilders. That is kind of the reasoning behind my price predictions. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. And just as a disclaimer, I really believe in being very open and transparent. You know, I'm heavily invested in Wilder World. I have done it with my time and with my means. I will be selling throughout the bull market. I have a plan, and our family has a plan of when we're going to be selling. And that's something that we're going to keep private, but it's something that should be done. I recommend to everybody, sell on the way up and sell on the way down. Never try to time the top. The biggest mistake I made was not taking enough profits in 2021, as well as I was in way too many tokens. Now I'm in much fewer tokens. I have a plan. I actually have an accountability partner. And so collectively, all of those types of things will contribute to the success that we feel like we'll have once this alt season really kicks off. I really look forward to the multiple rate cuts. I really look forward to some type of stimulus into the economy. I really look forward to the clarity of regulation. I'm grateful for the Genius Act. I'm really looking forward to a really solid Clarity Act to help clarify the market so that these teams can be structured in a way to be successful. And I'm really looking forward to some type of like tax regulation to help people really understand how they can navigate within the space when it comes to taxes. And then I'm just looking for a huge inflow of that liquidity to trickle down for the attention of the metaverse and crypto gaming to increase to new levels that we've never seen before. And then I really, really pray and hope and stand behind the team to execute in a way that they've never executed before, to produce a product that like they've never done before, and really stand behind the efforts that they've been kind of putting in for the last 4 years. I'm really proud of them. I really respect them, and I will be supporting them all along the way. And already I'm extremely grateful for their character, for who they are, who they're striving to be. I'm really looking forward to how everything shakes out and what we will be talking about when it comes to this season and how it was different than any other season before. But I am a long-term investor, so I'm really, really looking forward to the end of the first decade, which is another 5 years from now. I think the innovation that will come in the next 5 years be compounded by the foundation and the structure and the infrastructure they've already created currently. Really excited for all of us. I really hope that your life has changed. Just consider Wilder World. I totally understand if this isn't for you. I can totally understand if you want to go in the comments and kind of fade Wilder World, that you don't trust them, that you don't believe in them. I understand, but I believe in them. These are the reasons why. It's not just hollow FOMO without real research and real structure and real reasons behind why I believe that Wilder World can deliver. I do believe this team can deliver, and these are the reasons why. And there's a lot of larger things at play within the market that are really needed in order for the team to capture as much of that liquidity and attention when it does come. So here's to that. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. Be safe out there. Be smart. Only invest what you can. Don't FOMO. Make the trade you believe in, just like Elio Trades had talked about when it came to the posts that he really admired. Make sure that you make smart decisions, stand behind them, and if you do, you can just have confidence in that decision you made with the information you had at the time. I really do believe that's the way to trade. That's the new way of trading that I've gone into. And if you have any additional questions of needing clarification, make sure to follow me here on YouTube as well as on X, and I'm happy to help you. You can also go down to the description below. You can join my community on Zero. The referral code is down there. I'd love to have you. I can answer any questions you have when it comes to Wild, the Metaverse, Wilder World, the Zero platform, whatever you may want help with, even Meow. I can help clarify all the confusion that you may have, break down those complexities. So go click on that referral down below and start your journey on becoming just as well informed as I am, so you can have as much confidence as I do in buying and holding Wild. Do it at your own course, but I highly recommend it.